Cuba, it's me. Welcome to episode 345 of The Willu Show, which stands for Wrestling is Life. Life is Wrestling. Now, today I want to talk about the business side of wrestling, the financials. Basically, what happened is that Tariq guy, he posted a comment about how he spends so much money on tape every day, and I thought it was interesting. I was like, man, I wonder if you could write that off on your taxes as like job equipment for work or whatever. And then it got me thinking. And this is one of those episodes where I have a lot of questions, don't have that many answers, but hopefully it gets people talking, and then people can tell me their point of view. Although some people may not want to weigh in on this one, I get it, I understand. So, as a struggling independent wrestler, and I just say struggling because you're not, most people, it's not their full-time jobs. I know a few people that it is. Rip Impact, this is his job. He does it seriously full time, and Rex Atkins also recently has been using wrestling as just his only living. I'm sure there's many more people too as well, but a lot of the wrestlers I know, the majority of them in the independent scene, have to work another job, and wrestling is like their part-time job, on the weekend job, something they wish they could be doing full time, but they're not. And then there's a lot of big independent guys like that work probably just 3 days a week. They probably just do like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday shows, but it's enough that they're getting paid enough that they don't have to work another job. But how does it work here in Canada, and also for the promotions as well? How would you claim it as your job? Would you claim your job as an athlete? And I know in a lot of the promotions that pay, most of them pay cash, and you don't get a receipt from the company. And like, could you claim gas, and could you claim your wrestling attire and stuff like that, gas to get to the shows? Could you claim that as an expense on your taxes for like a business expense? Now I know it's not a business, but what if it's your job? How do you go about doing that? So it's your income every time you get paid. What about merchandise sales? Would you claim just your profit? Like, let's say you buy 50 shirts, and let's say you buy them at $8 a piece. So that's like what, $4,000 or something like that? Or no, $400? I'm trying to do the math. So yeah, 50 shirts at $8 a piece would be $400. And then you sell them all for 20. Do you have to claim every $20, or do you just claim $12 because that's your profit? And can you claim the purchase of the shirts, the $400? And how does that work? And I always wondered that kind of stuff. And also for the promotions, how many promotions? And like I said, I understand if some people don't want to weigh in on this, and you know, that's fine and dandy. You know, some people, they want to keep their business to themselves. But it's an interesting question, and I feel it's something that needs to be talked about. That is it worth, if you're an independent wrestling promotion and you go and you sell tickets to a show, you pay for the venue, you pay for the ring rental, or unless you already have your own ring, and you pay for the performers to come, and you pay for your advertising, and then do you get a proper business license? Is it like, let's say I started WWC, World Wrestling Challenge, or something like that. How much does it cost to get a business license? How much of those expenses can be written off? Like if you have to get a U-Haul to carry your own ring there, or to pay for the venue and that kind of stuff. Is it worth it? Do you get a lot of government grants, or like do you get small business discounts on your taxes and stuff like that? Especially if you're not, I know a lot of the wrestling promotions are either breaking even or making money, but they're not making thousands and thousands of dollars, or at least I don't think so, at least like in Ontario. But how does that work? And like, would they have to go about writing receipts for all their expenses and for all their performers? And then in turn, would all their performers have to claim it? Because like, if the promotion is writing down, okay, I paid these 15 guys $50 each, or $100 each. So let's say it's $100 each. I paid these 15 guys. That's $1,500. And then like, how does Canada Revenue Agency how much do they research and go into this stuff and do their like appraisals and stuff like that? Would they say, okay, well, why are these 15 people not claiming it? So is it something where like the promotions are like, we're not going to claim it, the wrestlers are like, we're not going to claim it, it's cash, it's under the table? How does that work? Like I said, I have a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. Like for me, I work a real job. I don't get paid for wrestling. I mean, I get enough to cover my gas. So I'm not going to go and claim it on my taxes because I'm not making a profit. I'm just, someone got these shirts done up for me. I just sold them and paid back the person. The other person got the money. I didn't make any money from it. So just letting that know if the government was ever barking down my tree. But if you did, would it be worth it? Or if you are just breaking even or losing money, would it still be worth it to claim it? Would you get some kind of, is there some kind of credit? Like I know like when you claim that you rent, you get a renter's credit. Or like if you have some kind of like, I don't know how it works, but like RSPs or something, you get some kind of credit for that or those kind of things. And I know I used to do daycare. So what happened was I got the cameraman full time when he was 2 years old, and I started running a babysitting business. And I did it everything legit, all of it legit. Every person that paid me, I wrote them out a receipt for how much they paid me. I claimed every single dollar I was paid on my taxes. Now I had some people say, why would you do that? It's under the table. But I did it as, I forget what it was called, but it was like, it wasn't a small business, but it was like self-employment. That's what it was. And then when I would buy things for the kids I babysat, like let's say I got them a new video game, or I got them some new Lego, or like something like that, or some new garbage truck toys, or whatever it is, I was able to write that stuff off. I bought a trampoline, and I claimed it on my taxes, and I got some of the money back. But I did it all legit. I had to pay extra on my taxes to do this because it wasn't just like a personal tax return. It was like a self-employment tax return, so I had to pay like an extra $60. But it was really worth it. So I was able to claim all those expenses. I was even able to claim some of my food because some of the food I was feeding them. I was even able to claim like some of my rent and that kind of stuff because the place I lived was my place of business, so I had to have that to get the clients, like that kind of stuff. I wonder how it works for wrestling, and is it worth going down that road? Like, should people, honestly, if you're really going for it, like I'm getting up there, I'm 35 years old, my body's had a lot of injuries, I would love to wrestle for a living, but my window and my percentage of that is not as high as some current guys that, they're not new, but they're like 4 or 5 years in, or maybe even 10 years in. But they're really making a run of it. They work really hard on their bodies. They're constantly buying new gear and promoting themselves and doing whatever they can to get to shows. And is it worth quitting your day job? How will it work out on the taxes? Will you get money back? Like, will you get money back at the end of the year because you didn't really make a profit, or you just made such a small profit? Like, let's say you work a job, and let's say it's like minimum wage. What's minimum wage now, like 14 or something in Ontario? So, I don't know how it works, but let's say you work 40 hours a week. So that's like what? $285, it's maybe around $600, and then they take taxes off. So you get like $500 a week. So you get what? $2,000 a month. So $2,000 a month is like, you're basically making like $20,000 a year. Now, let's say you were a wrestler, and that was your only job, and let's say you're making, with merchandise sales and whatever else, let's say you're making $300 a weekend, so you're making $1,200 a month. So instead of making $20,000 a year, you're making like $14,000-15,000. But you have all these expenses. Like most jobs that you go to, let's say you're just working like a minimum wage job, like I said, you might have to buy safety boots, but a lot of times the company pays for that or whatever. Like, and so with wrestling, would you be able to claim, hey, I had to drive 100 kilometers to get here, so you save every single gas receipt? Or, hey, I had to work out at the gym, so I saved my gym membership receipts. Or, hey, I have to go to the wrestling school to keep my skills sharp. I don't need to be trained, I just need constantly to be training and get practice. Can I claim that? What I pay for the wrestling school? Can I pay for new gear and tape and stuff I mentioned before and pay for the merchandise. Would it work out in your favor? I want to know, because there's a lot of people that if it does, or at least if it's the same as what they're getting for working a shoot dog, imagine how much more they can make a run of it if they weren't working 40 hours a week. If it's close, or maybe even works out better in your favor, mind you, you'd have to be pretty smart and wait and put a little bit away, put a little away, so that went until tax season comes, because that would be, if it works. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not worth it, but I don't know. But that's what I want to look into, and I hope. I got some really intelligent viewers on the Willow Show, and like I said, this might be a touchy subject. This might not get 122 comments like the last video did, but maybe, just maybe, some people will come through and weigh in on this. And I guess it depends how I word the questioning when I post it on social media. But I really hope there's some people that will mention this and bring this up. And I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers or throw anybody under the bus or any of these companies and stuff. I'm just really curious, and I'm just hoping that maybe this episode that I'm doing can end up benefiting some people. Like maybe there's a guy that's really wanting to break out, and he wants to be wrestling full-time for a living, and he treats it like his #1 priority. Meanwhile, he's still working 40 hours a week, so he's dead tired, but he's still going to the gym every day. He's still trying to eat properly. He's still training at wrestling schools, and then he's wrestling 2 or 3 times a weekend. Is there any way that he could make the same amount of money, but just wrestle 2 or 3 times a weekend and not have to do the other job? It's worth looking into, and I want to know from you guys. Please help me out on this one. I'm sorry I didn't have a lot of answers. Just something I wanted to discuss. And make sure you like, or you get a leg drop, comment, or you get a clothesline, subscribe, or you get a suplex. I'm your host, Elian Habanero. I love wrestling. Cuba.